Hello everyone, and today I'm going to talk about World War II in DCS and really look at what I think are its two biggest problems that are holding it back, as well as some ideas of how to fix it. So World War II in DCS is a really great experience. For a flight sim, it is the most detailed World War II combat experience out there. I'm quite happy to say that. Massive fidelity on absolutely everything, really nice attention to detail, really gives you the feeling of flying these old warbirds. The level of detail puts things like even IL-2 to shame, and certainly blows War Thunder completely out of the water. But in terms of numbers and player count, it is really sparse, and there are really good reasons for that. So the biggest reason and the biggest thing that I think is holding DCS World War II back is simply the barrier to entry. It is so much larger than any other module. The vast majority of planes in DCS, if you go pick up the plane module itself, that is enough to get you a good experience, both in single player and in multiplayer. You can normally find a server for pretty much any other plane that will be decently populated. Even though it won't have all the bells and whistles, you can find something for most planes there. But that is not the case for World War II. Instead, really to get onto any of the vaguely populated servers, or to have a decent single-player campaign experience, really what you're looking at is not only buying the plane module, but also buying a map pack, and then on top of that, buying the World War II Assets pack, which at time of recording is $30 unless it's on sale for $15. And so that means just to get your first module in World War II, you're already looking at pushing $100 out of sale very easily. And even during a sale, where most people do pick up their DCS modules, it is still really expensive, and it is really hard to argue that you should be picking up a World War II module and all of the necessary basics instead of, say, picking up two other non-World War II modules. And honestly, it's this barrier to entry that has always put me off recommending DCS World War II to people. I think it's a great experience, I really love playing on it, but I don't really advise anybody to buy in just because that is a really big barrier. This is a lot of money we're talking about, and I'm not really sure that barrier really is justified. The second major issue that I think is really holding World War II DCS back is just the lack of variety. Even compared to something like IL-2, even something like IL-2 Cliffs of Dover, they just don't have the variety here in terms of flyable airframes that we have in any other World War II sim. And this really means that a lot of the fights you get into are going to be very samey. The only really populated multiplayer servers right now are on the Normandy map, and they are always set towards the end of World War II because of the plane selection. If you're flying an Allied plane in multiplayer, you really know that you are going to come across 109Ks, or if you're lucky, you might see a 190 Dora or 190 Anton 8, and that is it. Now, if you're flying on the German side, there is a bit more of a variety. You might come across a Spitfire, either in the clipped wing or non-clipped wing version, a P-51, you might come across P-47s, which do have a couple of varieties, but no great difference in their varieties, or you might get lucky and come across a Mosquito. Now, comparing that to IL-2, even in a single IL-2 battle, there will be more planes on any one side than there is in the entirety of DCS World. And this means there is plenty of opportunity there for servers to fill their own niche, for servers to change from one time of the day to the next depending on what time zone they're focusing on, and plenty to do in fights. You're never quite sure of what you're going to be coming up against. I do love DCS World War II, but I do get tired of fighting over Normandy with the same planes again and again. And unfortunately, I think the first issue really feeds into the second. The reason why we don't have so many different modules is because the community for World War II DCS is really quite small in comparison to the rest, and I think it's very small because of that barrier to entry. And certainly it seems to just be a better business decision for any third-party developer to put their money into making a Cold War or modern aircraft than it is to trying to capture one of these World War II planes with just such a limited pool that they can sell into. And this is all really a pity because I think with a few changes, DCS could be the World War II flight simulator out there. Definitely with IL-2 stumbling recently and lowering the amount of output it has, DCS can absolutely jump on that niche, but something really has to change for this to take off and stop being a niche of a niche. And one of the biggest things I think would really help is for a Flaming Cliffs 3 style variety pack for World War II modules. I know Enigma's made really good points of needing more Flaming Cliff 3 style partial fidelity modules, and I think this is what World War II needs. I would quite happily live without a clickable cockpit if it meant seeing a lot more variety, for example seeing Hurricanes in or seeing some Eastern Front planes in. This would not only give players more choice in what they themselves fly, but will also make multiplayer a lot more interesting as you'd be coming across lots of other different planes. Now there's all sorts of possible themes for a Flaming Cliffs 3 style pack they could put out, but by far the one that I think would work best is a Pacific Theatre pack. We know that they are working on World War II version of the Marianas map. We know they're putting out the Corsair before very long. We really need something for that to fly against. And I don't think that the 190 spray painted as a 0, as they've been using in some of the promotional trailers, I really don't think that is a fit at all. I would much rather see a low fidelity 0 for the Corsair to go up against. And there are a huge number of planes that could very easily fit into that. We can get the P-38 would be a really cool addition. Additionally to the 0, we also have the army-based ones of the Ki-43. Could have dive bombers for either side, really rounding that out, really building up the options, and certainly leading the way to a very interesting multiplayer and single-player environment for the Pacific Theatre. And I know part of the problem with developing any Japanese aircraft is the lack of documentation of a lot of the planes that was lost during the bombing towards the end of World War II. And that would be the great thing about doing a low-fidelity version. You don't need to map out the electronic systems perfectly. You need to make a reasonable approximation, and that is ideal for this kind of variety pack. And just like Flaming Cliffs 3 itself does let people try out a variety of different planes, from the ground attack planes to the more modern jets, this would let people try their hand in a whole load of different styles of World War II plane to feel what feels good for them so that they know how to make a bit more of an educated choice in buying their full fidelity modules going forward. And that, I think, would go a long way to addressing the lack of variety in the multiplayer scene, and in the single-player scene for that matter, but we still have this really big barrier for entry. And really here, I think that Eagle Dynamics are kind of shooting themselves in the foot with their current pricing model. Because it is such an expense to get into DCS World War II, a lot of people just are priced out of it. I honestly think it would make a lot better business sense, and this is just my opinion, but I think that having the World War II asset pack as a free module available to everyone would be really good. And I also think that a World War II campaign map itself should be free as one of the base modules. And again, I think the Pacific Theatre really helps with this. They're already pushing forward with the World War II Marianas campaign. The Marianas map is free for everyone. And so by releasing the asset pack for free, they then have everything that people need to be able to jump right into multiplayer. All they need to do is buy this variety pack or buy any of the modules, and then they can play on Pacific Theatre maps without any other barrier to entry. I think that would really increase the player count, really enliven the era. I think once the player count starts to increase, we can really expect to see more third-party developers taking an interest in the era and putting more and more full fidelity modules out. Obviously, that would come at the cost of short-term profits of just having to sacrifice any sales they get from the World War II assets pack. But I think it really helped DCS become very, very competitive with the likes of IL-2 in the World War II space. So yeah, those are my ideas, and as normal, I am just someone on the internet, so be free to disagree with me down in the comments. If you have any of your own ideas of how we can improve DCS World War II, please do leave them down below. I'd be really interested to see what other people think. And if there are any other issues that are holding you back from joining in World War II DCS, again, just let me know down below. I'd be really interested to see if there's anything else that I've missed there. Otherwise, those are my ideas. I hope to catch you in a future video. Until then, remember to be kind to yourselves and everyone else. Cheers.